Details. It actually takes the part of your brain that looks at details is different than the part of your brain that looks at the basic shape. So what I usually do is I begin one of my drawings with a non-photo blue pencil. This is a pencil that kind of puts down a ghost image of the basic shape that I'm doing. I could also just use a regular graphite pencil lightly, but I like to block in that basic shape before I do. Another thing that's really helpful about thinking about these field sketches is to get rid of the idea in your head that, oh, I'm out in nature, I need to make a nature drawing of something. It should look like a picture in a field guide, right? Which is like when the thing is right next to you in perfect light and it's not moving, right? Botanical illustrators often they're sitting in their studio and they've got like the potted plant in front of them and they've got days and days to work on this thing. And so don't worry about having to have all of that kind of nonsense in it. But what I'm going to try to do is say to myself, from this distance, right, what can I learn about what I'm looking at? What can I actually see? If people say, like, I want to draw that bird, but I can't see how its feet look, then I don't draw the feet, right? I just actually draw what I am experiencing. And I use this sketchbook here as a thing to make me look again and again at this thing that I think I know. So back there on the lawn, I'm seeing a gull, and I'm going to, you're going to see that you don't need like supersonic vision, all right? And I don't need it to cooperate more than it is right now, all right? If I was right next to the gull, sure, I would be taking a different kind of note. I would be perhaps getting details about, like, what is the little ring of color like around its eye? Can I see that from this distance? No. All right? I can't even really see very clearly the shape of its bill, but I can roughly see where the bill is on its head. And you'll see that what I'm going to get in my sketch is a reflection of what I'm really experiencing from this distance. So, I'm seeing a gull back there. What I do with my non-photo blue pencil is I start to kind of block in its basic shape. And in some of our workshops, I'm going to be showing you, these are basic shape techniques that I use for plants. These are basic shape techniques that I use for birds. So I won't really be going into that in depth here, but at this distance, what I'm mostly doing is looking at, now my bird has moved. Right? Real birds will do this, and it's okay. So what I do, so the gentleman over here suggested finishing the sketch from memory, and I sometimes will do that. I will write a little note from it, you know, this is from life in memory. Or what I can do is, now my bird hasn't just moved, it's completely flown away. It's turned invisible. I could turn my attention to a pigeon, right? And start doing that. But what I'll often do if I'm drawing something and it moves, I just start another drawing of that from that new position. And then right next to that, another drawing from the new position. So as this thing is moving around in different positions, I might start 4 different drawings. If it comes back to a pose that I've already seen, I go back to that drawing, and the drawing that I get the furthest along on is the most characteristic posture of that bird. So I don't have to finish any of them. Oh, excellent, excellent. So now I look over here and I'm seeing, all right, so there are all these birds on the rooftop. Some people would say, I don't have really good binoculars. By the way, if you want to buy cool binoculars, I brought some in the back of my car. Cheap sales pitch. But from this distance, I can actually get a lot of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new drawing of this close gull, and this one has its head kind of tucked up in front of its body. It has sort of, I'm sort of looking at how long the body is. I can see wingtips sticking out on top. I can see what I'm guessing is tail sticking out below. Maybe that's, now my gull has flown, right? That's okay. I have here a few basic shapes that I've thrown down. And there's another gull that's in close enough position that I'm going to jump over to that gull and kind of get it. And something that I find helps a lot is this, if somebody sees you doing this and they're not from the journaling group, they won't know what you're doing. They'll think you're just crazy. But here's a great trick. Talk out loud what you're actually observing. So I'm looking at that gull on the roof line there that's preening its feathers. Towards the end of the feathers, there's a little white crescent, right? The back, the very tip of the feathers sticking out are black. There's a triangular wedge of light gray going out. Its legs come forward at a slight angle. Do you see how I'm talking out loud what I'm seeing? All right. Can I see the shape of its beak? No. Can I really see from this angle? I can't even see any beak right now. So here's what I'm going to get for my sketch. Here's my head sticking up. From this angle, I'm not seeing a beak. And so I'm not drawing a beak. And my body comes down roughly like this. I have that white crescent at the back of the body. And I said that the feathers were making sort of a triangular pattern. It had those dark wingtips sticking out there. And now I'm just putting my details on top of this framework that I already kind of blocked in. And there is a quick and dirty sketch of a gull hanging out on top of a roof. And it shows me what I can see from this distance. And I'm going to write a little note. I saw that it had a yellow bill. Yellow bill. All right. I see some pinkish in the legs, pinkish. All right. And all right. So there is some quick notes. I find it's really helpful for me to start using writing and drawing together when I am describing something. This really helps get your brain out of this mode of I'm trying to make a pretty picture. All right. So if I have sketching and drawing together, sketching and writing together, then I feel like I'm taking visual notes. And what that does is it just makes me look more carefully and more carefully. All right. I might say gull on rooftop. And I'm good to go. All right. And for things that hang around more, are more cooperative, I'll have more sketches of those. If I'm looking back, I'm now looking back here and I'm seeing a backlit gull. All right. So this is just a little shape of, can I see any details on it? No, but I can kind of get a sense of the size of the head relative to the body. The bird is not cooperating for a portrait, but I'm getting some observations of what I can actually see of that gull at that distance. Me doing that makes me look more closely at that gull. When I do that, my brain is absorbing a general sense of, oh, what are the proportions of this gull? Turns out there are a bunch of different species of gulls, and some have heads that are proportionally bigger than others. And so I'm just beginning to get myself to kind of appreciate if my gull is moving. Just sort of did a neat thing while I was preening its feathers. I looked over and it had its head sort of sticking out to the side. Here's a little gull sketch with a head sticking out to the side. And it's going to write preening. All right. So don't be afraid of a non-cooperative bird. All right. What we're going to